Uh, Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of the Full Scale Sports Podcast. I am your host for the day, Walter Main, joined, as ever, by our Canadian best friend, Brett Litke. How you doing, Brett?
I'm doing very good, Walter. Up here in Canada, it's a chilly day. I had a horrible weekend because my Baltimore Ravens lost, which we'll talk about, and my Edmonton Oilers lost on Saturday. So I got to watch the Oilers lose and then Baltimore lose within an hour of each other. So excellent day.
Yeah, our teams have not had a good playoff.
No, they haven't. And the way it's going, it could be a bad season for hockey teams too. So I don't know. Not a great time.
I did not come into the season expecting anything from the Blackhawks.
When your top two centers go out first week,
right?
Tough things. But anyways, it is what it is. At least the football. I mean, look, Baltimore got their asses kicked. It was what it was. But at least generally, 3 out of 4 games were pretty good this weekend. I think we got a little bit lucky there.
Yeah. So let's start with saying what we're talking about. We're doing a recap of the playoffs, then we're going to predict the championship games. Let's just start quickly going through the wild card playoffs because there were freaking 6 wild card games. Bills beat Colts, which was closer than I thought it would be. Do you think that was Philip Rivers' last game?
No, I don't think it was because I thought he played particularly well in that game. I thought, he played generally. I don't think he threw for an interception in that game. I think he threw for a couple touchdowns, over 300 yards. Yeah. That Colts team is pretty good. Now, I don't think he'll play on the Colts next year, but I don't think he's done. I think he's still got a little bit of life left. I think you should only be leaving when you're really cooked. I think he wants one more shot at it.
Where do you think, if he doesn't play in Indianapolis, where do you think he goes?
Well, run down the list of who needs a quarterback. I mean, well, he's not going to Chicago. Will stick with Trubisky, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I liked him in Indianapolis. I would rather keep him there. I'm not sure if the Colts want to keep him. They might have a different solution, but
do they? I don't know if the Eagles would do this, but do they straight up trade him for Wentz?
Well, they've got Jalen Hurts there, right, in Philadelphia. So
True.
It depends on if they want to go with. See, Philadelphia has to make a decision. Are they going to stick? I think they're going to stick with Hurts going down the line. Do they try to bring back Wentz into the mix? Like, Wentz was pretty good that one year. I know he hasn't been exceptional lately, but you know what Philadelphia needs? A better friggin' O-line, because you can't have a guy get sacked. I think it was like the first game of the season, got sacked 8 or 9 times in that game. Like, come on.
Your quarterback's not going to be successful after that.
No. So
in 2019, Wentz threw 27 touchdowns to only 7 picks, and I think he had over 4,000 yards.
He was great. They were a great team.
Just a year ago, and then Philadelphia fans are so fickle. They always have been. They threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
Philly has the most rabid fan base probably in sports, but I don't know. They have an identity crisis there. The Eagles got to figure it out. I think they'll probably go with Hurts long term, but I have no I don't know. If I was Rivers, I'd give him one more year. I thought the Colts looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think Rivers will probably come back to the Colts if he comes back. I could see the Colts as a landing spot for Wentz, especially if Rivers doesn't come back.
Wentz would probably do pretty good there. The Colts have a relatively good O-line, which is why their rushing game is so strong too. So he would get more time to operate. You'd have T.Y. Hilton there still. They've got some decent tight ends there. But that blend of running, well, mind you, Philadelphia has Miles Sanders, but he'd actually probably do it right there. Anyways, but yeah, Buffalo, I mean, they won by a field goal that game. It was closer than probably many predicted.
Yeah.
But, Josh Allen played a pretty exceptional game that game too. So
Yeah, Josh Allen has really come into his own this year.
mm-hmm.
He's exceptional. The second game of that Saturday, the Rams beat the Seahawks, which I was relatively surprised with, especially since they had to go to their hurt quarterback.
It was a weird game. Goff, I mean, you look at his line, he had actually not the greatest line in the world, but Cam Akers had a big game. And I don't think Seattle had a response to the Rams' running game at all. And Seattle, I mean,
they've gone such a far way from when they won the Super Bowl, when they had Marshawn Lynch and they had that big bruising defense that you would struggle to score 17, let alone 30 like the Rams threw up.
They're a different team now. There were some rumblings that Pete Carroll was going to be out. They didn't get rid of Pete Carroll, but I'm pretty sure they just fired their offensive coordinator. Probably for good reason. That Seattle offense just kind of, it's like at the start of the season, everyone thought, well, look, Russell Wilson's going to be the MVP here. Started out just hot as hell, and things started to kind of stutter, and they just didn't look very good against the Rams.
No. Then the final game of that Saturday, the Buccaneers beat the surprise of the NFL, the Washington football team. It would have been such a good story if Alex Smith would have been able to play.
We're going to talk about the Buccaneers here this last weekend. The one thing I'm going to say about that game, probably a different game if Alex Smith starts for Washington. Washington has a very good D. I agree. They're a surprising team. They're probably going to be a hot pick as like a surprise, again, like emerge next year.
Yeah. Maybe make the playoffs with a winning record.
It's possible. I mean, it's not a very tough division that they're in. And got a good defense, you got a good shot. And they really started to gel later on in the season. They got up to a slow start. They really started to gel. And they put up a decent fight in that game, considering what they were up against.
Yeah, it was it was a less than 2-score game. It was 31-23. And then we go to Sunday. And the first game of Sunday is the Bears and the Saints. 21-9. We hold the high-powered Saints offense to a relatively decent only 3 touchdowns. And we put up 9 fucking points. I'm going to go on a rant here because I am a diehard Bears fan. But everything from ownership to the general manager to the head coach has failed this entire roster. They've let draft picks go that have gone on to, become great defensive players. They've made boneheaded decisions in the draft. Their coach, Matt Nagy, doesn't know how to call plays. He doesn't know how to make an offense work. Yeah, he relinquished the play calling duties whatever week it was this season. Cool. You shouldn't have been calling the offensive plays in the first place. You shouldn't have been the head coach in the first place. The McCaskies have not known what they're doing for decades. George Halas is turning over in his grave, seeing what his kids have done to this franchise. Mitchell Trubisky has talent, but they're making him sit back in the shotgun, read the defense. That's not him. That's not him. They do this to all their quarterbacks. They try and make their quarterbacks into these things they're not. The best quarterback we've had since our Super Bowl years is Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler. And we've had so many good weapons at running back and wide receiver and every position. But we can't get a quarterback because our coaches don't know how to coach quarterbacks. Yeah, our last Super Bowl run was under Rex Grossman. Rex Grossman. Quite possibly the worst quarterback to ever appear in a Super Bowl. Ever. Period. Deshaun Watson was available. Patrick Mahomes was available. Yeah, make that argument. But guess what? If they're on that team, run the way it is with that offensive line, coached by that guy, they're failures too. Both of them. I'm okay. I think I'm good.
That was a lot of years of frustration that just boiled over there, Walter. Like that is. But I don't blame you. I mean, that game was frustrating. When you referenced Matt Nagy when he stopped calling plays in the season, and when they did that, their offense actually started to hum a little bit. I think it was something like four or 5 games in a row.
They set a team record of most consecutive games putting up 30 or more points.
Yeah, they were humming along. David Montgomery was playing huge. Allen Robinson started to contribute.
I love Robinson and Montgomery. They're so good.
Well, and they really started to do good. And then, you face the Saints. Now, the Saints have very good D. And you go up against them, so you are up against, pretty tough a pretty tough D. But I think that a lot of what made Chicago good on that little run there to end the season was they got Montgomery going, and they kind of control the line of scrimmage, and then it opened up their passing game. And so Trubisky could kind of work the short and long game, and they would just cruise.
It was get Montgomery going, get through the play action, get Mitch out on the bootleg, and give whichever receiver time to create separation. Because Mitch is really mobile.
Yeah, and I mean, and it was working. And then, New Orleans, we kind of seen that in probably the next game we're going to talk about. New Orleans did a really good job at stacking the box in that game. They didn't give Montgomery anything. They abandoned the run pretty early on. They got Chase in the game. And whereas it felt like everything kind of came easy for New Orleans in that game, they're running the ball pretty well. They're controlling the clock. But they had like 3 receivers that were averaging like 14 yards per catch. Something like that or more off of like 4 or 5 catches each. And so the Bears, you think the Bears, you hope they traded for Khalil Mack back then. Their D should be a strong part. But like you said, they've blown a lot of trades and they've let a lot of talent that way. And when it comes time to face a tough opponent like the Saints, you just get out-talented and outmatched.
We have a good defensive line, but we don't have that secondary.
No, they got picked apart. And then when you got to start compensating for that secondary, then it opens up the run. When you're going up against Alvin Kamara, well, he's going to slice and dice you. The one thing that concerns me about the Bears is I'm not certain that Allen Robinson is going to be back next season. And
if I were him, I wouldn't. If I were him, I'd go to somewhere where you're like that piece that puts them together.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if he's a wide receiver 1 on a top team, but I think he's definitely a wide receiver 2 on a top team.
I wouldn't say he's as dynamic of a guy as like a DK Metcalf. He's not making those like outstanding plays, but the thing that he gives you is like that consistent, like you can target him like 10 times in a game and he'll catch most of them. He gets himself open, and it might not be like those crazy 50, 60-yard plays, but damn, he chews up a lot of yardage and he makes a lot of plays. So he would be really good on a team that, maybe he thinks about this is me just spitballing, but Green Bay could use a guy like that. And they got Alan Lazard and whatnot, but Rodgers, someone like that. Anyways, Well, I'm sure we'll do another discussion about free agency and whatnot at a different
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, that Bears team wasn't their best outing against the Saints.
No, they have a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent on that Bears team. They're poorly coached. When you could see that from some of the stupid penalties they made.
Yeah.
And next game was Ravens Titans, which the Ravens did something that not a lot of people thought could be done, and they shut down Derrick Henry.
Yeah, they stacked the box very, very good in that game, caught him off guard. And, when Derrick Henry usually takes till the second half to really, like, the longer the game gets going, the longer the game goes on, the better he gets. And so I kept expecting that, okay, well, at some point here, he's going to really start to get after them. And he never did. The Ravens did a really good job of suffocating that.
Yeah.
What didn't happen with Tennessee is their passing game didn't get going really either. I mean, they didn't really do a lot over the air.
And I think Tannehill's really come into his own, but I think it takes the running game getting going for him to really hit that stride.
Yeah, it does. I will give props to the Ravens secondary in that game. I thought Marlon Humphrey got beat by I think it was AJ Brown on one of the first. Well, what I thought was offensive pass interference on the first touchdown of the game. But after that, I don't think he gave up any other plays. He played pretty strong.
Yeah.
But I agree. When you have someone like Derrick Henry who can rush for 200 yards, well, damn, your passing game is going to open up because they have no other choice. They've got to stack that box. They've got to suffocate. Now you're playing man or zone, however you want to respond there. You get shredded by a guy like AJ Brown.
Yeah. So Ravens move on there, and then Browns and Steelers in the last game. And I think that really showed that the Steelers, for most of the season, for a lack of better term, were kind of frauds.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree.
They benefited with that huge start from a really easy first part of the schedule, from playing Cincinnati twice. And they only beat them once.
Yeah. Well, and they went up against the Ravens, who were in the middle of that COVID issue, so they didn't have their starters.
Right.
They were up against an easier schedule. A lot of their players started out really hot. Claypool was killing it and all that. It started to cool down, and down the stretch, I mean, they looked god awful at times.
Oh,
really,
yeah.
like that loss to the Bengals was pathetic.
Lost to the Bengals. Jesus.
Well, for a team, that's marching to the playoffs and you're going to make a statement, and Ben Roethlisberger looked horrible in that game, and that should have been a clue for everyone. Pittsburgh has a good D, and they've got a lot of great pieces. Big Ben, man, like he doesn't look the same.
I think Big Ben might be done. Like, I don't think he retires, but he might be cooked.
Well, I think so too. I mean, he's making so many mental mistakes, and his body's just not there to do the same things. No. A lot of these guys are like freaks of nature, right? Athletically. And maybe we overestimate how smart they are sometimes because there's just raw natural ability to do things compensates against that. And then as soon as their body can't do what you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You start to see those mistakes add up. And again, we're about to talk about that in the game from this past weekend. And so I think you're right. I think Big Ben's done. He might start out hot again.
Yeah.
But his body can't withstand the season.
Through his career, he's just stood in there and taken so many hits that realistically he didn't need to take.
Yeah. So I don't know, and I didn't love some of their coaching decisions in that game. They got down early. The Browns looked really good. And yeah, I mean it was pretty much over in the first quarter. The score looked way closer than it ever had any right to be. So
Yeah. Then we move on to this past weekend's games, which the first game is Saturday. Uh, Rams Packers. I thought this was going to be closer than it was.
I think a lot of people did. I think a lot of people looked at how the Rams kind of manhandled Seattle. And they
Yeah.
thought, well, Green Bay is good, but are they that good? Are they that much better than Seattle?
Right. I thought number one defense in the Rams, like such a good defense against the number one offense. And I was like, this is going to be this battle, this like nothing's going to come easy. And Green Bay's going to have to fight for whatever they can get. And they figured out pretty quick that they knew better than to try for the big play.
Yep.
They just took what they could get every single time, and Rodgers picked them apart.
He did. I mean, this was a classic Rodgers performance. He's looked exceptional all year long, and I thought he was really humming here. He was finding Allen Lazard, who, he's had some injury issues this year, but really started to come onto his own here late. He was finding him. The run game got going. I don't think Rodgers even threw a pick. Like, I think he was perfect in terms of that. Let me check. No, and he wasn't even sacked. So, you throw for just about 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. You don't get sacked. No interceptions. That's tough to beat. That's really tough to beat. And then you have a running game with Aaron Jones that just, pedal around with ease. The one thing I thought with LA, in the week before, they got Cam Akers going. Cam was running. That they helped control the clock against Seattle. I didn't think they got their run game established nearly enough. And I think, obviously, that Green Bay pass rush, it was getting to them. Jared Goff sacked like 4 times. He didn't have a lot of room to work with anything. So, Green Bay looked really good. They might be my Super Bowl pick. I don't know yet.
Yeah, they looked fantastic. And I think the Rams hurt a lot from injuries because Goff wasn't healthy. Goff had the thumb injury, which is, I believe, why he didn't start the week before.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes to show it had to have been affecting him. They couldn't even get their throwing game really going.
No.
LA's a weird team. They're so Jekyll and Hyde to me, Walter. Like, sometimes they look like, man, this is a team that could beat any other team in the league because they do have they find rushers out of nowhere. And they've got some skill in wide receivers, and I don't hate Jared Goff, and like you said, they've got a great D, and it's like, okay, well, they should be able to put the pieces together, and they do go on these runs, and then, they don't look that great. And then, like, Jekyll and Hyde team, I swear to God.
They really are, and I think that's a big part of why they lost the Super Bowl that one year, why they haven't been able to get over that hump. And I think once they figure that out, I think they could be a dangerous team for quite a few years.
We'll see. They've got a lot of young talent there. That's a team that could use another offensive piece. That's a team that could use a game-breaking running back, maybe. We'll see what they do in the offseason, but I agree. If they do get all those pieces together, they're going to be a perennial playoff threat. But
yeah,
you don't want to see them become like the annual choke artists. That's what you don't want to see.
No. Then we've got the next game, which was Ravens and Bills. Bills win 17-3, defensive battle, and the Bills just shut them down.
It was, Buffalo's D really stepped up. I thought that, look, it was an ugly night there. The wind was howling. I think the Ravens left 6 points on the field just in terms of field goal. They couldn't convert shit in the red zone. Their passing game didn't really get going. We've seen them against Tennessee, and down the stretch they look so good, and then it's like they hit Buffalo and they just didn't. Nothing was clicking. Lamar looked like old playoff Lamar, which is not a good Lamar. He was getting sacked a lot. Obviously, he got hurt, had to come out of the game. That pretty much killed the Ravens' chances dead there. But I think even if he would have stayed in the game, I don't think they had a solution to what Buffalo was doing on D.
No, Buffalo is they're really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're both sides of the ball. They can get the job done.
They can. And what I found, the one thing that it was coming in, they were going into the game and they're talking that it was going to snow. And I thought, okay, well, it's going to snow. Generally rushing, right? That's when the rushing starts to what team has the better rushing. And I thought, well, Baltimore has a very good run game. They got Lamar, they've got the Dobbins and Edwards. I thought they could, they would do good. The snow didn't come, the wind stayed. But even in that regard, Buffalo they barely ran the ball. I think Singletary, I know we rushed it less than 10 times. I know we got like less than 30 yards. What amazed me is it's almost like they looked at Tennessee and said, well, Derrick Henry couldn't run through that line. We're not even going to try. And they shredded Baltimore through the air. Josh Allen made some incredible passes. Stephon Diggs was everywhere. John Brown was everywhere. They made a lot of passes. Ravens secondary didn't have an op. And the Ravens secondary hasn't been the same since their Super Bowl team. It has not been the same, and it was really hurting.
Singletary in that game, 7 carries for 25 yards.
Yeah, you see a score like that, and usually you're like, okay, well, obviously Buffalo must have just controlled the line of scrimmage through rushing, and it was like, no, they didn't. They passed at will, and Josh Allen was exceptional. So I think Josh Allen might have had more carries than that. I don't know exactly how many carries he had, but I bet you it was damn close.
Yeah. So after that, we had the first half of both conference championship games set with Packers and Bills moving on. Then we go to yesterday's games, which were 2 very good games. First, we started off with Browns and Chiefs, and this game was so much closer than I thought it would ever be. A lot of that is because in the third quarter, Mahomes went down with a concussion.
Yeah, it was like right around there, late third quarter. Yeah,
got dropped straight on his head. That was nasty.
It was. Look, the Chiefs are very good at doing this. Now, in their previous playoff games, I'm pretty sure, I think it was last year, every playoff game they were in, they trailed at some point. This wasn't the case here. That first drive, they marched down the field, scored a touchdown right away. And so what was it at the half? It was like, 19-3, I think it was at the half. Cleveland was down. They had only scored 3 points, and they were down. So what made Cleveland good all year? Their rushing game. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. Well, when you're down that much, you got to abandon the running game because you got to try and make up yards. And so,
but then in the third quarter, they were running all over them.
They started to pick it up. They started to go. Wasn't enough though.
Yeah. And late in the game, the Browns had 2 possessions within a score that if they would have scored, they would have gone on to the title game.
This is what separates good teams from great teams.
Yeah.
A great team, you get handed an injured Patrick Mahomes on a platter. Okay? You might not beat Patrick Mahomes. He's just too damn good. He's not in the game and you're going up against Henny, you got a shot. But if you can't capitalize.
And Henny handed them an extra possession with that god-awful interception.
Oh, that thing was ugly. And you know what? I was amazed that the Browns didn't capitalize on that. But
Like, I thought for sure, okay, that's momentum right there. I thought Baker Mayfield's going to march them down the field. They're going to score, and we're going to have a Browns and Bills AFC title game.
wasn't to be.
No.
Like
Chiefs
I said,
ended up. Oh, you were saying?
I was going to say, like I said, that's what separates a good team from a great team. Great teams have an ability to take advantage of that. They don't leave many points on the board. Oh, you're going to give me an interception like that, I'm going to hurt you. And Tampa Bay did that. We're going to talk about that game. But this was the Browns' first playoff appearance in a long time.
Yes.
Now they did beat Pittsburgh, but I didn't think they were really tested in that game because they got off to a lead so early. This was a real test, their first playoff test in forever for a lot of these players.
Yeah.
They didn't capitalize. Now you see how they respond next year. 1, do they make the playoffs next year? 2, when they're faced in a similar situation, now they've had this playoff experience and growth. Can they capitalize on it? We'll see.
That's going to be very interesting to see. Chiefs ended up winning 22-17. And then we had, I believe, the first postseason meeting ever of Brady and Breeze.
Yep.
With the Bucks and the Saints. And this was a back and forth game from the start.
Very evenly matched teams, I think. New Orleans has a good D. Tampa has a good D. Aging quarterbacks in both. You would say on paper, New Orleans has the better rushing game, but actually Tampa's running backs came to play last night, especially Leonard Fournette. It was a very close game.
It was. Decided by 10 points. Breeze did not have a good game.
No, you could say that Breeze cost them the game. And
yeah, 19 of 34, 134 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions.
And maybe you say those no, I'm not even going to give him credit for those last ones. You are trying to make something happen, but the Drew Brees of old, you march. And we've seen that all season long. Drew Brees, he wasn't throwing many passes over 20 yards. Obviously, his physical abilities aren't what they were.
Yeah, and since coming to New Orleans, he was never really the deep ball guy anyway because he was coming off that shoulder injury.
Yeah.
And like they said on the broadcast, probably the best free agent signing in possibly sports history. The Chargers let Breeze walk.
It wasn't a smart decision, and the Chargers, Breeze was an excellent fit in New Orleans. It's sad that his career is coming to an end. At least it looks like it.
Yeah,
I think his numbers,
the looks he was given coming back, I think this was it for Drew.
Well, and you see those numbers, and they weren't pretty.
Yeah.
People joke, they make jokes about Taysom Hill. I think that game probably plays out a little bit differently if he's healthy and active, and even if Latavius Murray is active as well.
Yeah, because you had that one play that Winston was in.
Yeah, and just.
And I don't like Winston as an NFL quarterback, or a person for that matter. But I don't think you can attribute the fact that in his last full season, Winston threw 30 interceptions to anything but him, because that's still 30 interceptions.
Yeah, he's inaccurate as hell, or he was at least. But that wasn't. He didn't have much to hit. Smith was wide open, right? So just chuck it in there. And Winston, for all his interception he throws a lot of touchdowns too.
Yeah.
But I thought that without Taysom Hill, that New Orleans offense, it's kind of crazy, but it did lack that extra dimension that, for the most part in the season, kind of kept the other teams guessing a little bit. Exactly. And when you lose that added dimension, then especially a defense as good as Tampa Bay, they can key in a little bit more, and they can kind of prevent. So I thought that like you said, Drew Brees gets picked off 3 times. Does he get picked off 3 times if he has those extra tools? Probably not. They're probably calling some different plays, but they were forced to go where they weren't comfortable, and it cost them.
Yeah.
And carry on.
Brady, as much as I don't like to say it, Brady's still looking great.
Yeah, he's got a lot of tools there. His brain's still as sharp as ever, so he makes the right play at the right time. He wasn't intercepted, threw a couple touchdown passes.
He's going to be a head coach.
I think so too. I think he has the skills to do it if he wants to do it. One thing
I think he's going to be a damn good head coach.
He probably will be. You think the game that good. The one thing that I found really interesting last night, you think like, okay, Tampa Bay puts up 30. You think they'd be like, oh, well, they must have got a lot out of Mike Evans. Well, no, they got 1 touchdown, but it was his only reception of the game, and it was 3 yards. That's all they got out of Mike Evans. Well, they must have got a lot of Antonio Brown. Well, no, he got 1 reception, 10 yards. So what went well for Tampa? Well, he used his other pieces really effectively. Fournette was outstanding. I thought Fournette actually might have been player of the game because where was this Fournette all year? Fournette, right. I put you in my FanDuel lineups. I don't know how many goddamn times thinking, okay, he's going to have that first bust-out game. Okay, he's going to have that bust-out game. Last night, in my FanDuel lineup, do you think I put Leonard Fournette in? No, because I thought, well, there's no chance. The Saints are going to clog up that slot. He's not going to have a lot of bullshit. Anyways, Brady spread the ball around a lot. When he didn't have those options, he dumped it off to Fournette, and then Ronald Jones supplemented it with a good attack. And this Tampa Bay team looks damn good. Holy smokes, Walter! That Tampa Bay Green Bay game next week.
Oh, be a good one. That's going to be a good one. Speaking of next week, both games on Sunday. We've got the first game, 2:05 on Fox. Bucs-Packers. That's a tough call.
Very intriguing matchup. Rodgers-Brady. Okay, well.
And historically, Rodgers struggles in conference title games.
Historically, yes. Yes, he does.
He's only won 1. And he's usually uncharacteristically intercepted a pretty good amount. And other than the one time, I think he's lost 3. Something like that.
Yep.
Does he get over that hump and win his first conference title game since 2010, 2011? Or does Brady take another team to the Super Bowl?
Well, in this game, I think I'm going to go with Green Bay. As much, and I've been kind of jokingly saying to everyone, oh, well, we're going to get a Mahomes-Brady Super Bowl. And that kind of seems like what the script would write, right? If the NFL could write this script, they want Brady versus Mahomes in the Super Bowl. 100%. And I know that history is not on Green Bay's side, but I think Rodgers has had the better season. I know Fournette and I know Ronald Jones had a good game. I still like Aaron Jones more.
Oh yeah.
And I think, and especially Tampa Bay's pass defense isn't quite as good as Green Bay's. So I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to have more to work with. I'm not sure that Tampa Bay was tested as much as they should have been in the air because of Drew Brees. I have Green Bay winning.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be tough for Tampa because even though Brady has that experience in the cold, like you get up in the tundra in Green Bay, a lot of the rest of that team doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's always a factor. No matter how much anyone says it's not a factor, it's always a factor. So I think I'm going to take Green Bay in that game as well. And then we have 5:40 on CBS, Bills-Chiefs. That's going to be another really good one.
Well, I guess a lot of it depends on is Mahomes back. if he's not back, I mean, I should give Kansas City more credit on D, but like, I just don't see how they overcome that at all.
If Chad Henne's with a week to prepare, I don't think the Bills let anything happen offensively with Chad Henne under center.
Well, not with the Ravens got 3 points against Buffalo, and I don't see how Chad Henne is gonna, at all. I don't like their run game nearly as much as I like the Ravens' run game. So
maybe I say Mahomes doesn't play, and the Bills get going. Maybe Henne gets a couple garbage time touchdowns, but that's about all I could see. If it's crucial moments, I don't see the Bills giving up much, if anything.
Well, so the other thing too that I wonder, okay, even if Mahomes is healthy enough to play,
yeah,
he got rocked pretty good. So I'm not certain he's going to be at 100%. I mean, it's hard to say.
I don't think so either. If I had to guess, I think he'll be cleared to play.
I think so too. But it might be like 70. He might still be cloudy. He might not be.
And especially if he takes another hit.
Well, that's exactly it. Buffalo got to Lamar pretty good, and I think they can get to now. Mahomes is crafty too. Like Lamar is a crafty individual, but you've seen Lamar was out of the game because of a concussion. I mean, they drilled him. They fucking smoked him. You think that would be weighing on Mahomes. He goes in, maybe his head's still hurting a little bit, but he passes protocol. His neck took a beating. His neck's probably a little sore, so he's coming in. He's not feeling 100%. And now you've got this D-line of the Bills that can put some pressure on you. You wonder if maybe he starts throwing the ball before he should.
Yeah.
Starts jumping off a little bit before he should. And can Buffalo take advantage of that and get some interceptions or get some key turnovers?
That's a really good point too. I think even if Mahomes plays, it's a very close game. Like even 100% Mahomes, it's a really close game. Because there were a couple games this year where Mahomes didn't get going right away, where he was slow out of the gate and he had to make the comeback.
One thing you'll find he does, and then in last year he did same thing. Slow to the gate, had to come back. These teams are very evenly matched. Buffalo's offense wasn't much less efficient than Kansas City. Their D, very evenly matched. So if KC gets behind, like you're saying, I'm not like, do they have enough to get back and claw back in?
KC has some really good weapons between Kelsey and who's that wideout they have?
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. And I still think Kelsey's the best tight end in the league.
Oh, by a mile. He's one of the he put I think he had the second or third most receiving yards this year, including wide receivers.
Yeah.
Nuts.
To go in your franchise history from Tony Gonzalez, take a few years off, and then get Travis Kelce. Those Chiefs have had some good tight ends.
They have, and so you look at those, and it's like Tyreek Hill, game breaker, Travis Kelce, game breaker, Patrick Mahomes, game breaker. Hard to bet against those guys. Josh Allen's pretty damn good. Stephon Diggs is pretty damn good. They probably won't need the run game. I think we're going to see a game plan very similar to what we've seen against the Ravens. They ain't running it. No, screw it. No. We don't got it. Singletary's not great. Could that be their Achilles heel? Maybe because of that, Walter, maybe Kansas City finds a way, okay, like they found a way to limit Cleveland, and maybe they find a way to shut down Buffalo's air attack.
Yeah,
But
like maybe I know this is risky, but maybe put like do some formations where you only have three in the box.
maybe they probably should
Get
wait
those
for it.
extra defenders on the outside. Get those extra defenders in pass coverage so you can double up another person.
It might be worth doing. I mean, especially Travis Kelce up the middle. I think a large part we're talking about Mahomes, and he's maybe not 100% healthy, and how much pressure is going to be coming at him. So when Mahomes is under pressure, and especially on third down, who does he look to? Travis Kelce every single damn time. If you double coverage him, or you can really block up Kelce, that's going to, especially on those third downs, which Kansas City's really good at converting, you can shut that down. That's going to be a huge, huge, huge advantage for Buffalo.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this comes down to the secondary of Kansas City as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can they stop Diggs? Can they slow down Allen? It's going to be interesting.
Well, and a lot of people don't talk about John Brown too. John Brown's not a bad receiver, and so Diggs gets a lot of attention. But can Kansas City counter John Brown?
This is a tough one to predict.
Yeah, you won't find my money anywhere near this game. Sorry, not happening.
But I think, like gun to my head, I got to go with the champs.
You're gonna go Kansas City.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, to make it interesting, I'm gonna go Buffalo then.
Okay.
I can't blame you for that pick, but like I said, these are evenly matched teams on paper more so than we would even think, based on season results. And I think Mahomes' health takes them. But we'll see. Okay, Walter, here's the question of the day. You're a gambling man a little bit. Over under, how many tables get broken in Buffalo if they beat the Chiefs and go on to the Super Bowl?
One table for every person they allow in the stadium.
Oh man.
It'll be like the freaking Dudley Boys up in there.
Oh boy. I feel crazy. Happy for that city, Buffalo. They don't get a lot of love as a city. People trash them. Oh, Buffalo.
Yeah, because when everyone thinks of New York, they think New York City, not upstate New York.
Oh, Buffalo, it's such a trash field. The Sabres get a lot of slack too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard you rant a lot about how the Sabres are run.
Oh, Sabres are run horribly. The Pagulas. Do they run? I'm going to Google that right now. Who owns the Bills? Is it the Pagulas? Yeah, it's Terry Pagula. Well, I tell you what, he runs the Sabres absolutely horribly. Maybe all his attention is going to the Bills. Anyways, good for Buffalo. I feel bad. Yeah. Those fans have been through a lot. I mean, come on. You just spent the last how many years in a division with Tom Brady? Now, okay.
And before that, rewind to the 90s, they had to watch their team lose 4 straight Super Bowls.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine that pain?
Like, 4 straight. The Vikings have lost 4 Super Bowls, but they were separated.
Imagine you you get to the first Super Bowl and you're like, oh, we're going to win. Oh, we lost. Okay, well, you know what? It's heartbreaking.
It was just a last-second field goal. We'll be back.
We'll be back. You come back.
And you're murdered by Dallas.
We got to win this one. No. So you go back a third time.
No. Oh. And
fourth time.
You're thinking, can we just lose in the title game?
That is a special kind of hell. That's a special kind of torture. That's when you feel God has individually put your name on a list to just torture. Sorry, jackass. But
I don't know if this is confirmed or anything, but I heard that Jim Kelly played every single one of those games intoxicated.
Oh my God, that would explain some things, maybe. Jeez. Now,
Yeah.
Walter, I got to ask you. Okay, so we 4 in a row. That's heartbreaking. I
Oh
I
yeah.
can't even imagine if the Oilers made the Stanley Cup Finals 4 times in a row and lost. I would be a drunk under a bridge, probably, actually, for sure. Okay, but now let's say Buffalo, they've gone through all of this heartbreak, losing seasons, tumultuous issues. They might get relocated to Toronto. All of this, they've come through, they've emerged. Now they make it. Oh my God, they beat the defending Super Bowl champions. They beat Patrick Mahomes. They're going to the Super Bowl. But Tampa Bay wins, and Tom Brady's going to the Super Bowl. What if Tom Brady beats the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl?
The suicide rate in Buffalo, New York would spike that day.
We shouldn't laugh because you might not be wrong. You actually might not be wrong, but like
Uh,
then Buffalo's cursed. There's no other
yeah.
answer. They're screwed. They're not allowed to have anything good. Don't trust Buffalo.
Uh, like, I could not imagine being a Bills fan getting to the Super Bowl and being like, we have to face this guy again. I thought we were done.
Oh, and you know what? Like Brady's so damn good because he won what 6? He's got 6 rings.
I think so.
Yeah. So I don't know. Josh Allen versus Brady in the Super Bowl. I'd probably have my money on Brady, even though I think the Bills are really good. So,
Yeah.
but I
I mean, this is awful, but imagine if this is the start of another 4 in a row for the Bills.
oh my God. They lose to they lose to Brady, and then maybe next year they lose to the Rams, and then maybe
And then Mahomes gets traded to an NFC team.
oh,
And they lose to Mahomes.
oh God, could you imagine? It's
Uh,
I oh I feel bad for them, and I like I said too, I feel bad for their Buffalo Sabres fans. They've had to put up with that's tantamount to torture. If there's one team that has actually been Oilers haven't been very good since '05, '06 they made the Stanley Cup Finals. Ever since then they've been trash. But if there's one team that's been worse in that span, it's Buffalo,
mhm.
100%. Um, oh, Walter, I'm telling you, I feel bad for these fans. Let's hope
Yeah.
that's why.
And those are the only two teams they have.
Well, we'll see what happens,
They
but
don't have a baseball team. They don't have a basketball team.
got nothing else. That's what Buffalo has. That's usually how it goes. When you've got nothing else, that's what your team gives you. So you've got Green Bay and you've got Kansas City. Green Bay,
Yes.
Kansas City. Now that would be a hell of a matchup too. Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes, two natural gunslingers. I'd love
Yeah. And I think if Kansas City makes it with that 2 week layoff, I think Mahomes is pretty much back healthy.
Yep. That would be a damn good matchup. I'd love to see Rodgers win one more. I think player that good should win two, but
Yeah.
it's not fair. They all can't beat Tom Brady.
Right. I mean, if Peyton Manning can get two,
Oh,
rightfully so.
and he wasn't anywhere near as good as Rodgers still is in the year that he
Right.
won it with Denver at all. I mean, that defense carried him to that.
Yeah, because that was the year that he set all the records they lost in the Super Bowl, right?
Yes. Yeah, he won. And then it was like the next year, he wasn't anywhere near as good, but the defense was better and they actually won. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Manning was because that year before, maybe it was 2 years before that, he set, what was it, passing touchdowns in a season.
Passing yards, touchdowns.
He was incredible. So we'll see what happens. I don't think the Green Bay D is anywhere near as good as Denver, but
No.
Rodgers is significantly better right now, anyways. So yeah, I don't know, Walter. It's going to be a wild week, wild day.
It's gonna be a good weekend.
Well, we'll see.
Full of stories and intertwining, like what ifs. fan bases that are tortured, fan bases that are kind of spoiled over the years. Because when was the last time Green Bay was actually, bad?
Oh, prior to Brett Favre, it would have been, right?
Yeah. They had a couple 4-12 or 3-13 seasons under the later years of Favre.
But it was short lived.
Yeah. And then it would be oh, Brett Favre just carried them to 11 wins again.
Lucky bastards. Lucky bastards there in Green Bay.
They go from Favre to Rodgers. What the hell?
Hey, Gretzky to McDavid. Yeah, we still haven't won yet, son of a bitch. Anyways, I got some hockey to watch tonight. I'm gonna watch some football this weekend, and we'll be good to go.
All right. I think with that, this is it for the first episode of the Full Scale Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this with your sports friends. What are your picks for the Super Bowl? Put them in the comments down below. We'll respond to some of them.
Yes, we will.
And until next time, you have a great day, everybody.
See you, friends.